Hey guys, Professor Bill of Comic Book University, and in today's episode of the Marvel Superheroes Advanced Role-Playing Game System, this is going to be your introduction to magic, all right? Just my introduction to you on magic. Look, there's so much in the world of magic in the Marvel Universe, all right? The DC Universe too, absolutely, but this is a Marvel game. So you want to incorporate some characters in, be my guest, but man, the study of magic in the Marvel Universe, it's almost like it's an exact science that, yeah, you can do anything with it, whatever you want, but there's certain rules that are givens if you've really gotten into the magical universe in Marvel a lot. You can see that there's certain patterns that have to be used. Anyway, there's all sorts of different kinds of characters that you'd use also. And I got a bunch of props, and I need to get my desk cleared in order to continue, so I'm going to give you up some props first, all right? Lots of different characters in the Marvel Universe that'll use magic. Obviously, the first one that everybody's thinking about is Doctor Strange himself. All right. Yes, the master of the mystical arts, trained by the ancient one. You know what I'm saying? Dr. Stephen Strange. Obviously, this is the first person that everybody's thinking about for the most part. And yes, people like him, people like Brother Voodoo, people like, just characters that are known for, they use magic. They are magical characters. But there's a whole bunch of other characters that are out there too. Magic doesn't have to be the only thing that you use. If you roll up a character and you've got, like, let's say the mystical background or mystical origin talents called multiple different things, then you have the option of starting off being a magical using character. Anybody can use magic in the Marvel Universe unless it specifically states that you can't, all right? Unless that's a limitation that you're taking. Case in point, if you're a robot. But certain characters can be magically deficient. Sure, absolutely. But the idea is anybody, for the most part, can learn to use magic. But in the game, if you want to start with the ability to use magic and actually have some of your powers or all of your powers be magical in nature, you have to start off with the mystical background talent. And there's other things you can do with the mystical background talent also. Go and see my talents playset in order to have a good idea of what I'm talking about. Videos that I did on all the talents. Look up mystical and mental skills. All right. Case in point, there's the Scarlet Witch. All right. Wanda Maximoff. She's got the mystical background origin. When she starts off as a character, some of her abilities are mutant in nature, namely her probability manipulation, but she can also cast magic. Certain of her abilities are very specifically magic. So she can use one or either or both, whatever, however she wants to do it, because she's got them both. Certain characters are just steeped in magic, though they're not actually magic-wielding characters. Johnny Blaze, all of the Ghost Riders, they can hit you with magical attacks. Hellfire is magical. This is a mystical origin character, altered human mystical origin. When he hits you with his abilities, that's magic he's hitting you with. But he can't actually control magic. He does not have actually, he probably would have the occult lore background. But as far as an actual mystical origin, yeah, not really. Maybe not. Depends on how you're going to look at it. But here's a character who uses all sorts of different magical abilities without actually being a magician. Got to be careful with that one. He costs a lot of money. There are characters who are also steeped in magic but don't actually use magic for the most part at all. Case in point, Thor, all of the Asgardians. You've got like Loki, who will use massive amounts of magical abilities. And Odin, of course. But characters like Thor, his origin is he's actually an alien. Asgardians are considered aliens in the Marvel Universe. More than that, though, is the idea that his power has a magical origin. He can detect certain levels of magic, especially if it's his brother using it. Lots of different origins and lore around Thor. His hammer is magical in nature. That worthy ability, that's not science, that's magic. And however you're going to look at magic as science that we haven't discovered yet or haven't given an excuse to yet or whatever. However you want to look at it, that's fine. But that is a magical ability. It's not just because of the weight of the item or whatever. No, that's a magical thing placed on there. And you can lose the ability to be worthy. I think that we've seen that. I've got the unworthy Thor around here somewhere. not the point. But yeah, you can actually lose that. His ability for the hammer to return to him, magical in nature, but he can't actually cast bolts of bedevilment and stuff like that. Certain characters don't have a magical origin necessarily. They're a very scientific origin, but they will use magical abilities. Boom, this guy right here, all right? That ebony blade, oh man, there is so much lore around that. You know, it's one of the few items that can actually deflect magical attacks, you know what I'm saying? And things like that. Absorb them and redirect them, whatever. There's curses on here and everything. Lots to do with magic with that character. They're characters who, they have almost nothing to do with magic, but somehow their powers were given to them mystically by nature. You know what I'm saying? Much like, you know, the founding of Excalibur. He's an altered human, okay? That's what he is, but there's a magical nature to him. You see the Juggernaut up there on the wall. Like, that's a huge one. I should have thought to bring him down. He's a heavy character. There are characters who, for the most part, they don't use magic at all. Yet somehow, everything that they do is based on magic. And he does have a magical origin. He does have a mystic origin. So it was only since fairly recent couple of years that he started to explore his magical nature in order to exploit a new way to use his Iron Fist and Chi capabilities. You know what I'm saying? This costume is the example of him learning new ways to use his abilities by exploring magic. There are characters who will just be willing to do anything in order to acquire power. And right here is one of them, Norman Osborn. Obviously, we know about the Hobgoblin and his descent into magic, but the Hobgoblin in and of himself, yes, he is a character who will also use magic to get what he wants, namely world power and destroy Peter Parker. But yeah, that's a really good example right there as well. You got Dr. Doom back here, even Unicron in some regards. Unicron, absolutely, you can consider a lot of what he does magic. You can consider the characters who have no magical powers whatsoever, but they seek magical artifacts, all right? He's not looking to be able to cast spells like, let's say, Norman Osborn would be able to, or is trying to learn how to do, or find, you know, mystical ways of attaining new levels of power. No, this guy's actually looking for more of the occult lore. He doesn't have a mystical background. He's got occult lore. I don't care what the player's handbook says, you know, or the judge's books say. He's got occult lore. He knows how to find certain magical artifacts and try and exploit them in order for his own use. Also, this would affect a character's understanding of the way that things work. Case in point, if you're going to go to Reed Richards, or more specifically Tony Stark, in order to learn how the Cosmic Cube works, you're going to learn how the Cosmic Cube works, but based on science. If you're to go to a character like Malekith the Accursed, he would have another explanation for how it works, and it would still be just as effective. So there's multiple ways to learn how certain items work, based on where that knowledge comes from. And magic could just simply be a very small, minor thing that you've got a character's origin, it is what it is, like for instance the Hulk. The Hulk's origin is very non-magical, but doesn't Walter Lankowski, the Sasquatch, have the exact same origin? Wait, there's one minor difference. He decided to do Banner's experiment up in the Great White North in a certain area where the great beasts were located. So this guy right here, yeah, he actually has the exact same powers as the Hulk, but he got turned into this because there was a slight bit of magic involved in what he did, and he didn't even realize it. So he's therefore inexorably tied to a magic being, contact, namely the great beasts. There's all sorts of different characters, all sorts of different ways that you can approach magic in the Marvel Universe, or at the very least with the Marvel Superheroes role-playing game. And yes, a very preference towards the advanced set. But that's the idea. However you want to use magic in your game, it is one of the best catch-alls to be able to continue with not just flavor for your characters, but new adventures, new stories. Even Tony Stark, once in a while, comes across a character like Malekith, and it makes for really great books, you know, really great reads. So consider that when you're making your adventures. Okay, from this point on, I'm going to be going buck wildin', talking about all sorts of, in the forthcoming videos, talking about all sorts of things magic in the Marvel Universe with the Marvel Universe Advanced role-playing game system. All right, guys, until then, yeah, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, class dismissed.